Hi guys, welcome back to Gun Shorts. So this week we're taking a look at the Miroku MK70 and I thought it would be a very interesting time to take a look at the difference between this gun and other Browning A1 based guns versus other guns in well, pretty much every other manufacturer. This gun sits quite nicely with the other guns in its stable, shall we say, the 686 SP, the Browning 525, and then of course the MK60, MK70, MK38s of this world. They're all in that sort of first gun or first new gun purchase when you get into the sport, and more than likely most shooters in the UK will have wound up with one of those guns in their cabinet at some point in time. And I thought it was the reason I wanted to look at the differences between those actions is because it fundamentally changes the way that the gun feels and handles, and I think that rather affects your preference over time. I've lined up this gun, as you can see, against my gun, the Krieghoff, and it could have been any other gun, to be honest. It's just because I had one lying around, shall we say, to look at the differences, and it's the way the guns joint. If you look at the Krieghoff, the monoblock has two recesses machined into it. These locate into stub pins in the sides of the action fence, and that's how that gun joints. And you'll find the same on a Beretta or a Blaser, or indeed most of the manufacturers. Fundamentally different, as you can see below it, the Miroku action, which is exactly the same as the 525, and the 725 shares the same design. There's a hanger coming from the bottom of the monoblock, and that locates into a full-length pin. So there's actually a full-length pin. This is meant to be extremely strong, and as you can see, at the back of the monoblock there are two lumps protruding down from the bottom there with a recess cut in them. So that's where the bite protrudes from the front of the action face that locates and then locks the gun up. But also those two lumps protrude out through a hole in the bottom of the action floor, and you get this rather nice trapdoor action. When you shut the gun, they protrude out, and you'll see that's how the gun looks up. You've got that seamless finish when you've closed it, and it gives a very unique sound. When you close a Browning, you get that Browning noise. That's everything sort of locking up and clunking together, shall we say. There's about 8mm of extra height in the action, and that makes the gun feel quite differently. In practical terms, this means, of course, that the action fences can be thinner because they're taller and you've got like more meat in them, and they're just as strong, if not, some would argue, stronger. But that is fundamental to the differences between other manufacturers' guns and the older Browning A1 based actions. So let's talk about the rest of the gun. This gun is an MK70 grade 1, so it's got absolutely bum basic wood. This thing looks like it's got floorboards on it. However, if you're not fussed about wood, why worry? 30-inch tubes, solid mid-rib, ventilated top rib with a non-tapered sporting rib, mid-bead and front bead are both in white with a centre tram line. Fore end is a tulip shape it's quite slim and well checkered. The grip and the stock are almost no cast, no palm swell, so this gun could be almost ambidextrous. The radius of the grip, and the height of the stock are pretty good. They're not uncomfortable. The reach to the trigger is fine. The trigger itself is non-mechanical. It's an inertia-driven trigger, but the pulls are pretty good. It's a little bit creepy, but to be honest, it brakes pretty consistently, and I find it's been really good for a gun at this price point. The stock itself, as I said, is straight and a little bit low in the comb. It shoots a little bit flat for me. I'm having to, if I mount this gun as I would normally, I'm actually really flat. So I'm having to sort of mount a little bit softer in the face to make sure I get the right sight picture. But once you get used to it, that's absolutely fine. In terms of balance, it's a little barrel heavy, but I haven't found any problem with it. They normally come with a solid butt plate, which is literally just got it's plastic with Miroku written on it, and the practical upshot of that taller action means that, in my experience anyway, they feel a little bit more punchy. The recoil impulse is a little bit more perceptible than I find with other guns where it's a bit more direct. Negative points, to be honest, the only thing I don't like about this gun is the shape of the top lever. The top lever has quite sharply machined recess with an edge on it, and I used to have a 525 and I found exactly the same thing with that. If you're doing a flush or you're doing any game shooting and you're breaking the gun quite a lot, stuffing more cartridges in, getting the gun back up, your thumb can get quite sore over time. However, if you wear gloves, it's absolutely fine. Other than that, it's absolutely fine. I've enjoyed shooting it. It's been eminently pointable. It shoulders pretty well. It's sort of a bit of an everyman gun. At this price point, bearing in mind it is absolutely plain. It comes in a box, literally a cardboard box with some chokes. It's a no frills gun. If you look at the engraving, it's obviously machine cut, but actually it's quite pretty. It's a nice sort of classical scrollwork design. I don't know, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend one of these things. If anything, I'd actually recommend it over the Silver Pigeon, simply because I got on with it better, and I think generally it felt better and had better pulls in terms of the trigger than the cheap Beretta. Of course, your mileage may vary. Other people love the Silver Pigeon, and you are, of course, it's your opinion, and it's your opinion that matters. The the model range. The MK70 is the sort of sporter. The MK60 is, I believe, the game gun, and the MK38 is their trap gun. I don't know if Miroku have any plans to release any new guns in the coming future, but certainly at the moment, if you are looking for a no-frills gun with absolutely unburstable build quality, I'm told that these things literally run forever. If the Beretta and the Browning are the shall we say the Fiesta and the Corsa of the new gun market, then this is the Honda Jazz. This thing apparently will not go wrong. Minor repairs that apparently are quite common are knee firing pins and a top lever spring. Nothing is fatal, and a top lever spring is like £8. This is a gun that I think you can buy at 1,500 quid, leave it in your cabinet, shoot it for its entire lifetime, and it will not go wrong, and you'll never lose any money on it, to be honest. They tend to sell second-hand anywhere between sort of 700 for a really cheap one up to over £1,000. You're not losing fortunes on one. I think they're a great second-hand buy. I think they're a great buy new. Wouldn't hesitate to recommend one. All right, guys, thanks very much for tuning in. As usual, please subscribe if you enjoy the show. The rest of my videos are down in this corner, and go take a look at the Bywell website. Those guys are responsible for the guns that I review here, and without them this channel would not exist. All right, see you next time.